Welcome to one more episode of Cutting Edge.
Today we're going to show you how to make homemade ciabatta, but first, the history lesson.
Yeah, history is very important. So ciabatta in Italian means slipper because the shape of the loaf resembles one. It was invented in 1982 in Veneto, Italy, as a counterpart to the French baguette, which had taken Europe by storm.
Actually, the difference between the two is that ciabatta is made with much higher hydration and a stronger flour that allows for the bigger holes in the crumb.
Stay tuned.
First, we're going to proof our yeast. I have here 800 milliliter of lukewarm water. I have a teaspoon of brown sugar to feed the yeast. I have 16 grams of instant yeast we're going to put in, and then we're going to mix it up. We're going to set that aside, and then we're going to our dry ingredients. I have here 1 kilogram of wheat flour type 00, which means it's very finely milled, and you need that, and you need a high protein content to get that open crumb you want from a ciabatta. So 1 kilo of flour in. Then I have 22 grams of good sea salt, fleur de sel, that we're going to mix in. And we're going to mix this dry because we're not going to knead this dough. When you see this foam on top, you know that your yeast is alive and ready to use. We're going to mix this with our flour. And I'm using a regular tablespoon just to combine this. When we have a wet, ugly dough like this, we're going to cover it and leave it for 45 minutes or until double in size. Our dough has doubled in size.
Wow, look how much it has grown. I'm really proud of our little dough.
Now it's time to give it a strength building fold. You're going to use a wet hand because this is high hydration dough. It will stick to anything. And you lift it up, flip it over itself like this, 4, maybe 5 times. And then we're going to cover it and leave it for another 45 minutes. Time for our second fold. Again, with a wet hand, we take the dough and we stretch it. And look how much further it stretches now. That's because the gluten network is getting much stronger. And we do it again 4, 5 times like this. And we cover and leave it for another 45 minutes. After 3 to 4 folds, we're ready to shape our ciabattas. I've prepared a oven pan here with a sheet of baking paper folded like this, so I create compartments so the loaves, they don't stick to each other. I'm going to sprinkle this with some semolina, so it makes sure they don't stick together. Like that. And let's check our dough. Look how beautiful that is.
Yeah, like an ugly duckling, kind of.
Reference to Denmark, my home country, Hans Christian Andersen, that's nice. Now we're going to dust this with flour quite liberally. This is all-purpose flour, doesn't really matter, but it has to be a wheat flour. And we're going to dust that over a couple of times. And then we're going to give the work surface quite a good amount also, as you can see. Then I have here a soft dough card that I'm going to sprinkle also, because remember, this dough will stick to anything it gets near. Now I'm going to release it from the sides here, all around. Couple of rounds, because we don't want it to deflate when we flip it out. And now we're going to flip this out. There we go. Now I'm going...
That's alive!
It's alive, yeah, it is. I'm going to dust the top with flour. And then I take my bench cutter and dust it also. Like that. And then I'm gonna take about a fourth of this. Sorry for the sound, but that's the only way to do it.
That's
we're
the
gonna.
point of no return.
This is the point of no return, yeah. And then you want to take this in like a quick movement, like this.
Wow.
And we take another quarter. Shape that a little bit. And again. And then we split the last here. Doesn't matter that the size is not exactly the same. This is home baking. And there we go. And here comes the last one. There we go. That's beautiful.
Well, don't get discouraged if it doesn't succeed the first time, you know, if it deflates or anything. It took us many times.
Quite some tries to get this. Now we're going to cover this with a couple of kitchen towels, and then we're going to leave it to rest for half an hour, and then it's time for the oven. I'm going to show you a small trick. The ciabattas that you know you're going to eat the same day, spray them with a little bit of water to add some moisture to the surface. And then we're going to sprinkle them with a little bit of sea salt. It makes them extra delicious. Don't do it to the ones you want to eat tomorrow or the day after, because tomorrow then the crust will be soft. I have my oven here set at 230, and I strongly encourage that you get a grill thermometer to put it in your oven, because they don't give the right temperature. I have it dialed at 200 here, but I'm actually running at 230. Inside, I have the oven set up with 2 pizza stones to retain heat when I open the door and close it, so it doesn't get too cold. I have a cast iron skillet, and to that, I'm going to add a glass of ice cubes. And the reason for that is I want high humidity in the oven in the beginning, because that allows the bread to rise before forming a crust. 30 minutes in, our ciabattas, they have built a great crust. They are ready to come out. Let's get them out of here. Here we go. Look at that beauty. And now the torture begins, because we have to let them rest for 10 minutes before we can cut into them. Let's see how we did. Look at that. Isn't that beautiful? Perfect. Excellent.
Well, it looks great. Let's see also how it tastes.
Well, I'm gonna drizzle it with some extra virgin olive oil, because I love that.
I go plain. I love it even more.
Let's give it a try.
Oh my.
And with the salt, the crust, it's really, really excellent. It's good.
It's the epitome of ciabatta. Just give it a shot, guys.
Epitome. I'm going to show you in a later episode how to take this a bit further, because this is the best you can do in a traditional gas oven. Stay tuned.